Good evening. Tonight, a long-awaited moment in one of the most disturbing and controversial scandals in modern American history, and for many Americans, a moment that has raised more questions than answers. On Friday, December 19th, 2025, the United States Department of Justice released thousands of documents and hundreds of photographs related to the late financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. This release, mandated by federal law, was supposed to bring transparency. Instead, it has ignited outrage. What was promised as a historic reckoning has arrived, at least in this first phase, as a heavily redacted, partial disclosure, prompting fierce criticism from lawmakers, victims' advocates, and transparency groups across the political spectrum. Tonight, we take you inside the Epstein Files. What was released, what was withheld, who appears in the photographs, and why the controversy is only just beginning. The DOJ release. What happened late Friday afternoon, a time critics say is often chosen to minimize scrutiny. The Justice Department quietly uploaded a massive digital archive to its website. The files were placed inside a newly created section titled The Epstein Library. The scope is large. More than 13,000 pages of documents, hundreds of photographs, FBI investigative records, court filings, emails, flight logs, seized materials from Epstein's properties, but despite the sheer volume, many who have reviewed the files say the release lacks substance, and worse, lacks accountability. There is no confirmed client list, no sweeping new indictments, no bombshell revelations implicating previously unnamed individuals. And most controversially, hundreds of pages are completely blacked out. Why these files were released. This disclosure was not voluntary. It was mandated by the Epstein Files Transparency Act, a bipartisan law passed overwhelmingly by Congress in November 2025. The bill was co-sponsored by Representative Ro Khanna, Democrat of California, Representative Thomas Massie, Republican of Kentucky. After months of resistance from the White House, President Donald Trump signed the bill into law earlier this year, framing it as a commitment to transparency. Administration officials previously argued that full disclosure risked violating victim privacy, releasing sensitive grand jury material, but critics say those explanations have been used for years to delay justice. Background: who was Jeffrey Epstein? To understand the significance of these files, we must revisit the man at the center of the storm. Jeffrey Epstein was a financier whose wealth and connections remain to this day partially unexplained. From modest beginnings, Epstein rose into elite circles, cultivating relationships with US presidents, foreign royalty, billionaires, scientists, celebrities, media figures behind the scenes. Prosecutors say Epstein ran a decades-long sex trafficking operation, exploiting underage girls recruited under the guise of providing massages. These abuses allegedly occurred at a Manhattan mansion, a Palm Beach estate, a New Mexico ranch, and his private Caribbean island, Little St. James, often dubbed Pedophile Island. The 2008 plea deal that changed everything. Epstein's first major brush with justice came in 2005. When Palm Beach police uncovered allegations involving dozens of underage victims. But in 2008, then U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta negotiated a plea deal that shocked legal experts. Epstein pleaded guilty to lesser state charges, served 13 months in jail, was allowed work release 6 days a week. Most critically, the deal granted immunity to potential co-conspirators. Victims were not informed. The public was kept largely in the dark. The 2019 federal case and Epstein's death. In July 2019, federal prosecutors in New York charged Epstein with sex trafficking. The arrest reignited national outrage. Evidence pointed to a vast operation, one allegedly enabled by Epstein's closest associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. But before Epstein could stand trial, he was found dead in his jail cell. The official ruling: suicide by hanging. Despite multiple investigations affirming that conclusion, Epstein's death fueled widespread conspiracy theories that persist to this day. Ghislaine Maxwell. Maxwell was later arrested, tried, and convicted in 2021. She is now serving a 20-year federal prison sentence for helping recruit and groom underage girls for Epstein. Many hoped the Epstein files would finally expose others involved. So far, they have not. What the files actually show. The most striking elements of the release are photographs, many never before seen publicly. They depict Epstein socializing with powerful figures in informal, intimate settings. Bill Clinton. Former President Bill Clinton appears extensively. Dozens of images show Clinton relaxing with Epstein, swimming in pools with Ghislaine Maxwell, sitting in hot tubs, traveling aboard Epstein's private jet. In some photos, young women appear nearby, their faces redacted. Flight logs confirm Clinton flew on Epstein's plane at least 4 times between 2002 and 2003 for humanitarian missions linked to the Clinton Foundation. No new criminal allegations against Clinton appear in the files. Still, the images have reignited public scrutiny. Celebrities and public figures. Other images include Michael Jackson posing with Epstein, Walter Cronkite seated beside him, Mick Jagger in group photos, Kevin Spacey alongside Clinton Diana Ross, David Copperfield, Chris Tucker, Richard Branson. Again, presence does not imply criminal wrongdoing, a point emphasized repeatedly by the DOJ Donald Trump. Mentions of President Trump are limited and largely familiar. They include old address book entries, previously known social photos from the 1990s, appearances with Epstein and Maxwell at Mar-a-Lago. No new allegations or revelations dominate this release. Other disturbing materials. The files also include photos of Epstein's properties, provocative artwork, images of explicit decor, a breast-shaped cake, contact sheets revealing Epstein's obsession with photographing guests, a newly detailed 1996 FBI complaint from artist Maria Farmer suggests federal authorities may have had early warnings about Epstein decades before his arrest. Redactions. The biggest controversy, more than 550 pages are completely blacked out. Thousands more are partially redacted. The DOJ says this is to protect victims' grand jury secrecy. Ongoing reviews. Lawmakers disagree. Representative Khanna called the release inadequate. Representative Massey demanded immediate full compliance. Victims' advocates were blunt. This feels like another layer of protection for the powerful. Political and public backlash. The timing of the release, late Friday, drew immediate criticism. Partisan reactions followed predictable lines. Republicans focused on Clinton, Democrats pointed to Trump's past associations and the administration's delays. But across the spectrum, frustration is growing. For many Americans, the Epstein case is no longer just about one man. It is about power privilege and whether the elite are ever truly held accountable. What happens next? Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche says more files are coming. The DOJ claims it will reach full compliance by year's end. But skepticism remains high. Tonight, the Epstein Files offer vivid snapshots of excess and influence. But for survivors seeking closure and for a public demanding truth, they deliver little resolution. Anchor close. This story is far from over. As additional documents emerge, we will continue to examine what they reveal and what they still conceal. For now, the Epstein Files stand as a stark reminder. Transparency delayed is justice denied. Good night, and stay with us.